crypto asset? Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
And there is no second best when it comes to the Disco fam. Smash that like button, everybody. I'm your host, DZ, with Josh and TJ, and we got to talk about the Trump effect. What is going on with these altcoins? What is going on with Bitcoin? We're seeing a nice recent pullback, and the candles are looking quite ugly. But, folks, how are you doing? We're doing great right in here. Josh, TJ, what goes on?
Yeah, I mean, doing great. I mean, conspiracy after conspiracy tends to be, taking place here over the weekend. But we're doing pretty good. It's we're back in the office here. It feels good. I'll be at the studio here tomorrow, guys, in terms, I think, across from DZ again. We've been fixing a lot of the technicals and whatnot, but everything's going really well. Markets pumped yesterday. Absolute insane weekend. Created the biggest futures gap we have ever seen in the market. We'll be breaking down that today and what that means for the market conditions here. But I mean, there's a lot to break down. There's a huge announcement coming out from Donald Trump at 3 p.m. apparently today in terms of an investment decision. And we have rumors that, of course, at the crypto summit, Chainlink and Ondo will be participating as well. And that is coming directly from inside sources. So very excited. Very excited.
Iggy's asking, why isn't he blinking? Because Cardano pumped over the weekend. Of course, I am jazzed to the gills, everybody. We are in a trade right now on LBank. Big shout out to LBank. We got a link down below. We did a little tutorial over the weekend. So we're going to talk about some of these crypto prices. Let's hit refresh. Like we said, there's a little bit of a pullback in the last hour. Bitcoin is still up 2.5%. XRP still looking green here. BNB and Solana with some fresh pullbacks, and Cardano still deep in the green, has pulled back from being above $1, still sitting comfortably here at 96 cents. If we look at the biggest gainers, still probably going to be Cardano. Kronos still with a little bit of a pump. We got some Crow FUD that we got to talk about, and I got some Chainlink Alpha, and Ondo man is here. What do you feel about Ondo with the 6.5% pump? One of the biggest 5 gainers here, Josh.
I mean, it's definitely, the whole market's starting to come back a little bit, peel back after we saw that $10,000 candlestick. So, looking at just go.
Can I get your screen real quick, Josh?
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
That would be helpful.
That would be pretty helpful here, Chad.
Also, shout out to everybody that's in here right now. Love you guys. Disco fam, smash that like button for big gains over the weekend. Who holds Cardano in the chat? I want to know, because that was a fun day yesterday, and a lot more fun coming up ahead. So yeah.
Yeah, so obviously we're on that minute chart here, and we could be putting out a pretty bullish pattern right now on that price action. I wouldn't be shocked if we came back down a little bit today. It seems like Wall Street woke up furious because Donald Trump announced this over the weekend. So, of course, Bitcoin ripped when Wall Street couldn't approach these markets whatsoever. And now we're getting a little bit of a pullback here. So what I would be, and I pulled this up while I was talking earlier, the futures gap, guys. In futures gaps, we trust here. These play out 80 to 90% of the time. We faded the one when we went all the way up to $100,000. You guys remember this early in November last year? We're going to come back down to the $77,000 level. We went so high, we thought it wasn't going to come back. But as it turned out, we came right down into this gap. Some people are considering it filled. But there's actually still a little bit of open situations taking place down there. But the gap we created over the weekend was the biggest gap in crypto's history. So, of course, we saw Bitcoin go from about 85,000, actually even less than that. That was from 85, almost on the dot, 85K to all the way 92,520. So we filled out some of that gap here a little bit today. But I wouldn't be surprised if markets kind of hovered between here with this massive gap that was created over the weekend from Donald Trump. The only thing I really see letting us break out and see what we saw here just a few months ago, where we just continued rip, is if Donald Trump does announce like a crazy Bitcoin investment decision here later this afternoon. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and looking at the Bitcoin chart, remember, folks, we drew this little cup and handle. I was actually kind of laughing at drawing a cup and handle on the 1 minute chart or the 5 minute chart here, if we could share. But I ended up looking at it, and we did pretty decent here, folks. If you recall, this is what we drew. Made a little bit of a prediction. Did not think we would exceed our predictions here. We actually shot up a little bit higher than what we were expecting here. If we kind of measure Didn't quite catch that last 2.25%, the last $2,000, but kind of predicting the pump here and really, really played out in a major way. I want to share one thing before we get into some of this alt news regarding Donald Trump. This is the others chart, and we're looking at the 1 hour candle. Now, this is a little bit of a trend line, and it looks like we may have bounced off this beautifully. And this is going to be the market cap excluding the top 10 and their dominance. This is going to be the value of some of your meme coins and some of your lower down the list altcoins here. And you're going to see a nice little bounce here, but we are going to see if this could be a sustained move, continuing the drive for alt season. Because when we zoom out, folks, we are still in a precarious zone. However, this is typically when we start having the nice blast off, a little retest, and then start alt season, retest, start alt season, retest. Hopefully, this is the start of alt season.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, we talked about it, if you guys remember the last few weeks, about how if we experience a very sharp, like V-shaped recovery on this dip going back to fill that CME gap, how that doesn't invalidate that we're still in a technical bull market, and that this is what we've experienced many times before. There was a reason I didn't blink an eye when we dropped all the way down to below 80K. Like, it was very par for the course for me. It actually made me more bullish and made me want to buy more Bitcoin below 80K than I was how bullish I was at 90K. And it's because we've seen this time and time again in these types of markets where, you know, it starts to create fear, people load up, and then boom, we get this quick recovery. And I still feel more bullish than ever. We're going to see the Bitcoin bull run through the rest of this year that we've been anticipating. You know, I see people saying still haven't closed the gap. I mean, there's closed is technical. We went back down into the range where it was, like Josh mentioned, it wicked down into it. Yeah, we've got another gap now that we got created Sunday, that $10,000 candle. That's, people talk about God candles. That right there was a God candle. One candle to see Bitcoin go from 85K to 95K. And I think even in a 1 hour candle, I believe it was maybe
4 hour. I think
definitely in
2
a 4
hours.
hour. Yeah, it was definitely in the 4
I
hour.
actually have something very bullish on that V-shaped recovery. So if you look at the V-shaped recovery on the 4 hour candles, you can see the right side not as high as the left side. So that almost spells a little bit of, you know, maybe lacking strength, a little bit of resistance here. Let me put something on your radar, folks. If you look in the past, almost every single V-shaped recovery, it was shorter on the right side. And this is just a trend that I've seen play out again and again and again, my friends. And if we keep scrolling, I mean, you see it just repeatedly happening here. The right side, not always quite up to snuff to the left side, but that has just been fuel for a little bit of a cool down, let the markets then push higher. So I would not worry too much about, you know, maybe not quite the V shape, looks a little bit more like a little dipper. But we could still be this could just be a little dip for ants, folks. I'm not feeling bearish, that's for sure. Maybe that's why we should feel bearish, though. Who knows?
Little dip.
I was going to say, we
dip
had some
for
breaking
ants.
news. Breaking
What's
news.
the breaking news?
Smash that like button if you do like the breaking news. Breaking news, SEC drops the Kraken lawsuit. This was literally minutes before we went live, less than 10 minutes before we're scheduled to go live here. And so maybe you're going to see even more bullish activity with some of these coins that are in the Kraken lawsuit. There's going to be Chainlink, it's going to be Cardano, and we're going to talk about those coins. But speaking of those altcoins, I don't know if you guys, this is crypto right now. Just everything being resurrected from the ashes, like Building 7. What are your guys' thoughts here? I shouldn't say that. Folks, hit the like button. We're just going to get deboosted by YouTube just by me saying those.
No, you know, this is that market condition where I don't think you're going to get what the bulls want. And I don't think you're going to get what the bears want. Is, you know, we're moving off of, like, when you still look at the macroeconomic data here, we still have months of these conversations on tariffs and negotiations. You see what's happening with Ukraine and Russia right now, with Europe standing behind Ukraine and causing all this economic turmoil. I still think if you're looking at, like, you want a clear sign of a reversal in an uptrend, it's just not going to take place yet. What's going to take place is a very volatile market, and it's completely reliant right now on Donald Trump's words. Now, what I would like to point out is anybody that was fading the Trump administration and crypto, they very much so have crypto at the forefront of their mindset. Now, whether or not they're the ones that were inside trading before the announcement last week, and you want to be mad at that, it's a different conversation. The conversation moving forward is, when are we going to see the United States government actually start dollar cost averaging and picking up Bitcoin and potentially having a weighted market cap or weighted index of the rest of our altcoins here and maybe the top 10? If that's the case, you're seeing a mass amount of buy pressure come in and a very quick reduction of supply from all of these tokens. Bitcoin's already very limited on exchanges and everything. So whether or not we fill this gap now that was created at the 85K level, which would be really healthy in my opinion. It just goes to show, again, let's pull up the futures chart here. We don't like seeing these gaps. Historically, these almost always fill here. And this being the biggest gap in history, man, I mean, it's not making me, exactly bullish today, saying we're just going to continue this uptrend and just pump to the upside. I would personally like to see this filled a little bit here. But again, if Trump comes out at 3 p.m. today and says we're buying 2 million or 200,000 Bitcoin, what's that going to do to price action, right? So, if you're trading news, be very cautious, be very, tight with your stop losses, be very, I'd say low leverage, minimum risk, because it's going to be very, very volatile. If you're looking at the macro as an investor, I think to TJ's point here, Bitcoin being at 77K just 2 days ago, you had great dollar cost average opportunities. So if we come back to the bottom of that range, I'm picking up as much Bitcoin as I can, my blue chip projects, because it's a matter of when, not a matter of if they start allocating and picking up some of these tokens.
Speaking of if not when, or when not if, we will talk about Athena, Hedera, Hondo. We're actually going to speak specifically about outperforming some of the slower horses out there. So we're going to cover that as well. We got $5 super chat from Kelly. Kelly in the chat. I'm grateful for every one of you and thankful for you all setting up a better future for your families. Good stuff there. And we do that by leveraging on risky
max
alts.
leverage.
That's what we like to do. Yeah, 50x. Was it Eric Trump? We're going to talk about the 50x long over the weekend. Did they have inside information? Was it Don Jr.'s little brother? I don't think so. Might have been Barron. But let's talk about these altcoins, everybody. Cardano, Solana, XRP. The holders in the chat, smash that like button. If you hold one of these coins and you just love seeing the news over the weekend here, a rally after Trump's crypto reserve announcement. While the idea of the reserve had been floated before, it's the first time specific altcoins were highlighted. Cardano's token was the biggest gainer amongst the top 100 cryptocurrencies, still is. At one point, it was up, close to 50, 60%. Now it's up around 43% over the last 24 hours. Solana and XRP also had nice rallies. XRP about 15%. Solana also over 10% there. And the primary reason was Trump including these coins in the U.S. reserves. However, soon after, he followed with the tweet confirming Bitcoin and Ethereum would obviously be the core of the reserves there. But Trump previously promised the strategic reserve Bitcoin stockpile Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville, Tennessee. It will be the policy of my administrations, the United States of America, to keep 100% of the Bitcoin that the government currently holds or requires into the future. We'll keep 100%. Kind of to Josh's point, right now we're not market buying yet. That's what we want to see so far. We're just basically confiscating Bitcoin from criminals. But once we start market buying it, it's going to be a big, big difference. Now, Josh, TJ, what are your thoughts on the David Sachs angle here?
You're talking about what he tweeted, or what are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean, he's out of coins. Some are saying, no, he's still in coins. Where do you land on that? We're going to talk about the crypto czars, maybe some altcoin alpha here, folks.
Yeah, I've actually, I haven't adjusted this yet, so give me 1 second to fix.
And I don't know, are you talking do you think it's good or bad that he sold all his crypto?
Well, do you think he sold? Well,
look,
so
he has
investments.
Yeah, so he has an investment advisor now that manages those assets, I'm sure of.
I meant equity in crypto companies. And so
that's
I don't have a Solana wallet with Solana in it, but he might be invested in a VC firm that holds Solana in a wallet. So is he really out of Solana?
He's out of Solana by definition, because when you're an appointed official from an executive branch, which is Donald Trump here, you can't hold on to any of those assets because it's supposed to be considered a conflict of interest. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that he doesn't have any investment allocation to, companies, or is going through a third party, or however that operates. Every politician does this. So, he's very bullish on crypto. I think all that matters here is he's been somebody that's very vocal about crypto, blockchain, Bitcoin, and AI for years at this point, especially if you've watched the All In podcast, he has hundreds of hours of him talking about, the future of blockchain and crypto. So, he's very bullish on the sector. And that's all I'm really worried about. In terms of, is he going to have exposure? Is he not going to be? Is he going to be indirectly? This is just the name of politics, and I would imagine he's still heavily exposed to the crypto market.
Oh, we're going to reveal it. TJ, any thoughts before we reveal his holdings here?
This is a tough one, because Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think he's done a very good job of positioning himself in the sense that I don't think he's doing anything nefarious. That being said, these people are going to own some things. You can't just say if you want to serve your country, you have to own nothing. And so I think it's going to be very hard to completely remove. Like, there will always be people calling for conflict of interest. I mean, I was on a space yesterday talking with somebody saying like, "Oh, Donald, this is just a grift by the president of the United States." I'm like, picking the top 5, like, how is that a grift? And it basically came to this thing that every world leader across the entire planet is just a grifter. And it's like, all right, if that's your logic, like, I can't, if you think everybody's a grifter just because they use their influence to benefit themselves in some way, shape, or form, like, all right,
You just learned what free market capitalism
That's
was.
what I'm saying.
That's
It's
how
a free
our world
market.
operates.
So it is what it is. So I think he's doing a good job in divesting himself in the most reasonable way expected. I don't think it's ever going to be perfect. I think there will always be people claiming unfair. And usually it's because it's the coin that they want, or the project, the thing that they want to happen isn't happening. So they're screaming it's not fair. But if the thing that they wanted to happen was happening, they wouldn't be saying anything. And so you're never going to please everybody. I think I think the approach they're taking by making a summit is a good idea. I think it makes sense. The coins that were mentioned, I mean, he came out and said, obviously, that he, divested his personal holdings. He said he sold all of his cryptocurrency, and then other people are saying, he got community noted saying that he still holds stuff in Bitwise, and he came out and said this is a lie. He had a $74,000 position in the Bitwise ETF, which he sold on January 2022. Now, to DZ's points, does he have some equity positions, or does he have some assets that touch this industry? I imagine he does. That's part of why he got the role, right? He knows this space. And I think he will probably be actively divesting as much as he can to remove that stigma. But what I was saying earlier, I don't think he'll ever get it perfect. There will always be people screaming conflict of interest, and that never seems to change.
And like you said, you can't make everybody happy. There's a lot of Bitcoin, like Bitcoin Max, he's freaking out that he didn't talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum first. And it was like, dude, everybody. If you have any logic and you were sitting in that room, it's like people like that was guaranteed, right?
That's
so the question, it's like what, like you're really gonna make an argument out of nothing and be pissed that he's shouting out, like you said, the top large cryptocurrencies, and he says more cryptocurrencies to come. This is definitely going to be a weighted index, and so whether it should be Bitcoin at 60, 70, 80%, the rest of the altcoins are gonna be weighted no matter what. And then seeing Bitcoin maxis get mad at this, it makes me mad, because I'm like, okay, if you're so mad about decentralization and you're so mad about these centralized, cryptocurrency smart contract protocols, well, China owns Bitmain. China owns this, 3 largest mempools for Bitcoin. The transactions are centralized. And then if you actually want to talk about holders, I mean, it's really up to MicroStrategy and BlackRock. So, it's an entire, I think the entire argument is counterproductive. And we need a weighted index. And I'm very excited to see Donald Trump doing this. And if you're mad at him talking about XRP or Cardano, you have to be mad about him talking about JP Morgan or MasterCard or Visa or his other donors, or, Tesla
Microsoft
or Ford or Oracle, or like he talks about regular tech companies. So if you're mad about that, like you said, I just don't think you can make everybody, happy at all in these markets. People buying high, selling low. You're not always going to have bulls happy, not always going to have bears happy.
I will tell anybody, if you run across a Bitcoiner that's upset about this, just tell them to lower their time preference. That's the answer there.
There you go. TJ, do you know Morse code, by the way?
Do I know Morse code?
Yeah. He won't be able to, folks. He won't be able to, even if he wanted to. So he won't be able to blank any messages there.
Our lawyers are listening in on
give us 2 if you're held hostage. Just
I'm feeling pretty comfortable right here.
TJ, I thought you were under 24-hour surveillance.
No,
and
I'm getting it. You guys can't notice, I'm getting a tan. I'm trying to keep my skin from peeling. So.
Well, there is one thing I want to say. David Sachs is a lawyer. There's something about that language that seemed a little lawyerly to me. And this is the question here that I have. David sold his direct holdings, but he still has a large indirect holdings because he's an investor in Bitwise Asset Management. Well, that's a lie. I had 74K in the ETF that he sold. This is where it gets interesting if you're a lawyer, but I do not have quotation large indirect holdings. I feel like a lawyer who's worth their salt can kind of have a lot of leeway with this little phraseology. I'll provide an update. The reason I bring that up is he is a founder of Craft Ventures. And if you go to Craft Ventures, you go to their portfolio. Now, this is the investment team. You know, it maybe says something that he's number one right here. You know, maybe he's the largest investor there. Boom, right there. Bitwise Investments. So, you know, there's a little bit of gray area. I don't think it's as super clear that I have zero investments. The fact that he pointed out that he sold an ETF, but could potentially be invested in the equity of the company, and the fact that he said indirect holdings, large, you know, it's just a little wiggle room for David.
Let me ask you guys this. Just curious of your view on it. Do you like it? Does that matter to you a lot? Do you feel
yes?
like,
And let me tell you why. There's one coin in particular that this matters a lot for, TJ. But
well,
what's your larger question here?
Well, I just mean in general, like do people holding a role, filling a public service role, is it our expectation that they completely leave all of their prior business? And
it is our expectation. However, it limits our capable candidates.
That's what I was going to say. So I would argue that that's
an
unrealistic or a disserving expectation in our society. Like, we're better off if we want the best and brightest out here serving our country. We should make it easy for them to do it. And to tell somebody who's a very successful business person, well, if you want to come in and serve our country and help us, you know, win as a nation, we need you to pretty much just sacrifice everything you've ever done personally and move away from that. And it's like, they're not going to do it because there's ways they can impact the country for good on their own from the private sector more than going into the public sector. So to me, I think he's doing a good job. I would not expect him to see no personal gain from this technological digital revolution. I would not expect somebody who was brought in to advise the White House on how to use the internet back in the 90s or the 2000s to never be able to put their business on a website, for example, to never be able to invest in any other business that touches the internet, because that's inevitably turned out to be every business. So if we feel like almost every industry is going to be impacted by the technology of AI and blockchain, to say, David Sachs, you're supposed to advise and consult and direct and hold summits and lead, but you can't actually have any personal use or understanding of this stuff, I don't think is a good.
I don't think it's a conflict of interest at all. I think people that are mad at that are ridiculous, and I'm not trying to like bash people on the stance. I completely disagree with it, because it's like, what are you asking? It's like you want the brightest minds to lead this industry. The only way you're going to have the brightest minds lead this industry is if you go after the people that have actually founded the companies and been a part of these investments and have developed the industry over a course of a decade, like you mentioned. I would much rather have someone like that still has investment, that might divest, than a Nancy Pelosi who has zero experience and is literally just funneling and stealing taxpayer dollars and taking hundreds of millions of dollars in lobbying efforts. Allegedly on a $200,000 salary worth $500 million, and provides absolutely zero economic value to our society. So for me, it's like, I don't understand that argument. It's like, I would rather let's eliminate lobbying and let's bring in the CEOs. Like, those are the people that you want in these established positions. You don't want some like mediocre, like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but like some average citizen from, you know, a local community running the digital chamber of commerce. Like, you would want somebody that has been around established trade routes and has, you know, managed billions, if not trillions of dollars in volume. And so the level of, I would say, not even disparity, I don't know what the right word would be for this, is I think it's over exaggerated. It's one thing if they were able to hold on to that. He's like actively divesting, but it also, like, the individuals that think you can't have any exposure to these markets, they also they don't understand how long it takes to divest. So it's like, if you appoint an official, you can't immediately divest from a company, because if you're running for a position, one, A, you don't even know if you're going to get the appointment. B, you don't know if you're actually going to be established as that position. Like, you've seen Matt Gaetz was, you know, running for attorney general. He thought that was going to be his life, and then he got completely 180 and he had Pam hop in. So it's like, for people to be mad at somebody that still has a little bit of investment and allocation to this market, I don't know why it's such a big deal. I wouldn't consider that a conflict of interest. And I would say, as long as he's taking the right steps and initiatives to divest from that community, I don't know why it would be an issue if he has equity stake within positions, unless he was an active role, like a congressman or of course a executive chief.
Let's go ahead and let's roll into revealing the coin I was talking about. We do have a quick super chat. Richard Hart was right, and he beat the SEC. Didn't get dropped. He won. Well, technically, it was dropped without him having to admit fault, which is a thing that you see often. They were dropped without that. Wasn't as far as like went all the way to trial. Then the judge was like, they lose. But it's definitely a victory. It is a victory for him. Now, so Czar, kind of we went back and forth on it a little bit, confirming quotations that he doesn't hold any crypto, but Craft Ventures retains a stake in a small number of crypto startups. So Craft Venture does have stakes in some of these holdings. This was started in 2017, has launched 4 funds. Last one was closed after raising $700 million. Some of the ones we're talking about, you saw it on that list. Bitwise, we also got BitGo, got some social media things, also Multicoin Capital. We've done a video on that in the past. Well, let's get into the alpha here. I said there is something that's important. So he's an investor in Bitwise Fund. Now the ETF, this is where the lawyer in David Sachs, well, no, I'm not invested in the fund. But folks, remember, Kraft is an investor in Bitwise. So I'm trying to be careful here so I don't get sued by the crypto czar, but he's an investor in Bitwise. He has sold the fund. The top 5 holdings, the coins that have pumped everybody, the coins that were named, but there are other coins. The fund also includes Chainlink and others. And so now people are saying Chainlink is probably going to be in this reserve. And you see the larger ones. But then after that, let's go back to the picture here. Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Cardano, but then revealing the coins, Litecoin, Chainlink, SWI, Avalanche, DOT. Now, Litecoin and Chainlink and SWI and Avalanche all kind of beating out the rest with the 0.4. So just want to put that on people's radar. So keep an eye out on these 5 altcoins. Maybe we're going to see some positive price action. Now, let me ask you folks, Disco fam, and you two with me here. You can only invest in one. Why is it Chainlink? No. I'm choosing Chainlink. What of the 5 would you choose?
Obvious play. I think the ones that you're going to see added or mentioned are going to be the largest donors to the Trump administration. So that's the only other 2 that, 3. There is 3. It's SWI, Chainlink, and Ondo. Those would be the 3 biggest ones I saw at the.
Sergey is all around rubbing the elbows with the DC elite now too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Chainlink is undeniable at this point. I think, again, we covered it some last week, seeing Sergey sitting there with the treasury, with the sign behind him that says updating the financial system of the United States. I mean, there's none of these things that they're trying to do, tokenizing stocks, RWAs, none of that works without Chainlink. And so Chainlink really has established themselves in an incredible way to be at the center of all of this stuff. Ethereum, it's got some pretty good advantages.
Well,
Bitcoin,
let's go to the rest of the American coins, because we got some people listening, some that aren't on here, like Ondo. Here is the made in USA. Which ones do you think will make it? Altcoin Gordon is asking us. I see Aave, people in the chat saying Aave. People love Render. Probably going to see that. There's Ondo for Ondo, man.
An underrated one I'll give the chat here is Constellation DAG. People always leave that out, and they're working directly with the Department of Defense.
Yeah, Air Force.
The U.S. base.
Yeah, they do. I'm going to say I don't think that's going to happen just because of market cap size. They're way smaller than most of these other projects. I do think they're connected. I think they're going to be relevant, but I don't think they're going to be any kind of strategic reserve type thing. They're not going to be. Yeah, Ondo I see being a big part of it. Aave I see being a big part of it.
I don't even know if Ondo will. I would imagine it'd be top. I'm going to take a guess here and say it's top 10. They're going to do top 10 first.
I think the strategic buying will be a lot more based on market cap size. Let the market decide. We talked about that a good amount yesterday on Mario's stream, because that's the only way to make it non-biased, right? If you say, look, we're going to hold the largest ones and we're going to adjust as the market adjusts. I just think when I think about what they're going to use these industries as we're moving towards this direction, we're seeing a lot of, SWI and HBAR are in there. Aptos is in there with the institutions.
Will the ladder logo play out? Will people take the ladder to Profit Town?
That's funny.
Or is it going to be like SWI? Is it going to be teardrops of pain?
So what are the top 10 out of those in terms of market cap? Because the other thing you have to take away too is he's talking about US-based companies.
I think this is an order.
It's not going to be top 10 altcoins, because that includes Tron, that includes BNB. Those won't be included in my opinion. It also doesn't include stable coins. So if that's the case, what are the top 10 US-based tokens?
That does roughly look like it is like from
I think it's roughly in order.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it would be the top 2 rows here.
So then to be top, so HBAR, and I would put Litecoin over HBAR. just
Yeah,
'cause
you
the-
can take
the-
out
but
Circle and put in LTC here.
there you go. There you go. Yeah, and that would look
Would
about right.
never be Bitcoin Cash.
I don't know. I think Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, you might see in it just because they're always. I agree, but they always end up being the first to PayPal or the first of these payment systems. So I don't know, like if the same people advising this digital asset committee are the same boomers and Bitcoin lovers. I wouldn't be shocked, but that is a good list. It's a good
Well,
list.
you ever see, Bitcoin Cash came from the block size wars. Bitcoin Cash was going to be more easily used for money, like to buy the coffee. Bitcoin, they kind of strayed away from that. Epstein is linked to all that, guys. Did you know that? The
No,
I did not.
MIT technology group that was working with the Bitcoin core developers and who was a big funder of that group. So interesting little
They call it
historical
Bitcoin
reference
for
there.
kids.
Well, there's allegations that the intel agencies didn't want Bitcoin used for cash. So
Hey, Pam, release the files. Thank you.
not going to happen. Not going to happen. That is digitized by the CIA, and they're also receiving the digitized copies, not the paper copies. So they did not get that secret shoebox that's held in a vault somewhere. Now, I want to talk about the reserve not happening. There are indications. This is all fugazi. We could be crashing lower. We could be closing that CME gap to the downside. We are not guaranteeing any kind of mega pump today. Here's some truths this morning regarding the crypto strategic reserve. Easiest path politically, Bitcoin only. Anything not Bitcoin requires congressional approval. Truth social post versus legislative action are 100 miles apart. Never say never. But people love to hate on Cardano and XRP. Does that pass a 2-house majority here? Because that is what's going to be needed. Now, we have this article here. Now, could face some congressional vote, may limit the rally. And so, obviously, surging after the announcement of the strategic crypto reserve. But analysts are cautioning that, folks, this might be short-lived because of the lengthy approval process required to establish a crypto reserve. Now, this is according to a research analyst at Nansen. I think constituting a reserve by buying new tokens is a complex process that will need Congress's vote, so it will take time. I would be wary of the sustainability of today's move. Are you wary of the sustainability?
No, I think this is that's fraud. That's not fraud. That's wrong. That's literally just wrong. You don't need Congress. Like this is where there's a huge battle right now taking place because they're trying to say that the executive branch is going against the constitutional rights, that Congress controls the purse. But however, they're making an argument that Scott Pest and the Treasury do. So like
they can reallocate funds that are already earmarked, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Kind of the wall strategy.
Exactly. So if you go back to his second line there, this is where he messed up on that post. He said he literally countered his argument here. So scroll up a little bit to the tweet. Go back to the tweet you're on. No, the tweet, the Twitter post.
Trump's tweet or
there you go. Yeah. So it says right there, any and all crypto that isn't Bitcoin will require congressional approval. So you have to ask yourself, why doesn't Bitcoin require congressional approval?
That was my thought.
So
they have some seized already, so they don't have to market buy. It was my thought.
So I mean, and that could be an argument.
It's like taking the Lamborghini from the impound.
That's not
lot.
what he said.
The criminals do it. You see the sheriff driving it.
So if that's what he's referring to, he needs to be more precise there. But if he's talking easiest path politically is Bitcoin only because it's Bitcoin, I'm not a lawyer at all, so I don't know the validity to this. But from my understanding, there is an argument where the U.S. Treasury is in control of those funds. So if the government has already approved the spending, and Doge, let's say they make these massive cuts, and there is a massive amount of revenue going back to that Treasury, Scott Bessent will be in control of those funds and not Congress because it's already been congressionally approved. So that is where this game of chess is taking place, and we don't know how it's going to play out. That's why it's going to be it's very interesting to me. Like if Trump comes out and announces today, we're going to invest in the Bitcoin. I mean, that changes a lot of the tone.
You guys ready to throw a Trump under the bus? One of the sons. Guess which son we're going to throw under the bus. Barron, Don, or Eric?
I'm not going to give it away.
Or maybe it's one of the daughters. It's not.
It's never the daughters.
It's not. Yeah, the older one, she's just poised, and the younger one, she's like, I'm staying out of the limelight. I'm smart.
It's Eric.
It's Kirk Tuss. You got it right. Barron. Oh, Brian. Brian wanted it to be Barron. No. So someone went 50x long. 85K Bitcoin with 200 mil on the line. It's maybe the boldest single trade I've ever witnessed in any market with any asset ever. $200 million. Placed right before Trump made his tweet about the crypto reserve. Well, surely just like, it wasn't just before.
I was going to say, it wasn't just before. It was like day before
But
or
we
hours.
kind of covered it a little Friday evening. You know, we talked
Yeah.
about it.
But
Well, this is
they
an
left out the
allegation.
most important. They left out the most important part that made it risky. Their liquidation, with at least on the Ethereum one, was like very close.
Yeah.
It was. They
50x, it only goes down a little less than 2%.
Yeah, I feel like it was like the price of Ethereum at the time was like 2,200, and their liquidation was above 2,000. It was like 2,100 or something like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, 2% on 2,200, $44. That is nothing. Ethereum falling $44. If you look at 80K Bitcoin, 2% is only $1,600. Now, this is all allegations. This is Eric Trump's tweet. I love the genius of announcing a strategic reserve on a Sunday when traditional markets are closed and Wall Street sleeps. For the first time, retail won. Traditional finance better catch up or it'll become extinct. World no longer runs Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. This person, American Huddle. Impossible to know who is behind this trade. Literally impossible. I don't think it was Eric. I don't think he would be that dumb.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think it is. I actually agree with that tweet. It actually struck me when he put that out there that it is pretty cool that
Eric told us to buy the dip.
He did. He told us to buy the dip, and I don't think I think he's 100% genuine that he likes that it was announced over the weekend and that we, the people, get a chance to interact with this before the broader open traditional markets 9 to 5. Now, that being said, there are institutions in crypto already, but far less institutions in crypto than in traditional markets. So yeah, if you were online yesterday, I mean, we went live, Josh went live yesterday. We were live on X and all that sort of stuff. If you guys were live and took advantage of that action, huge movement on the prices there. And I think this is going to continue for the next 9 to 12 months. You want to be locked in. You want to be subscribed to this channel. You want to turn those post notifications on. Sometimes, guys, you need to go click that bell, turn it off, and turn it back on to make sure you're getting the notifications, because now is the time. That one tweet like that. I mean, there were people that went long and made. Somebody at the top of the show said I made 250 grand long yesterday and retired. Not retired, but like made 4 years my income in one trade yesterday because they were online at the right time. That is going to be possible again. It's not going to happen for everybody, and it's not going to be easy. Don't get me wrong. It's going to take time and effort and being present and being locked in. But life-changing money is going to be made in the next 12 months for many, 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 many people watching this channel, and it could be you. So make sure you're here, hit the like button, turn the notifications on, because being online right now and catching announcements like these. I mean, Cardano pumped almost 80% at one point. I was looking at it yesterday. Now, obviously, reality comes in. Things are retracing a little bit today. I don't think that is any cause for concern. I don't think you're going to hear narratives out there now like, oh, that was exit. I already saw it. Somebody even, I think at the top of this show, said that was the exit liquidity pump. That was the end. We're going back down. We're out. You're going to hear that a lot. That's not the case. We're going to retrace back down to this new CME gap probably. And we're going to keep grinding. But yesterday, if you guys were wondering what alt season feels like, what happened yesterday, that's what alt season feels like when you look at the charts and it's just like 30% here, 20% there, 60% here, 70% there. Imagine that every day for about 2 weeks straight. That's a textbook alt season feeling. Now, I don't know if we're going to get alt season like that again, but 2 or 3 weeks of 40+% gains across altcoins is what a true alt season feels like.
And I was saying Trump speaks at 3. I wasn't throwing up West Side, although we know it is the best side.
Are you going to cover that, Josh?
Yeah, I'll probably if it's live. I don't know if it's live yet, but if it's live, I'll be live here. You guys know.
And folks, tonight we're going to put out an emergency Cardano video. It was kind of the largest grower, and DZ's a shower. So I'm going to show you what altcoins and how to buy it. I didn't mean anything by that.
I knew that was coming as soon as you said it.
All right, let's talk. Speaking of sick, this is the sickest Venn diagram I've ever seen in my life. I've never been excited about Venn diagrams ever until crypto. We started seeing all these with the Made in USA. Let's look at the 4 circles or ovals here. We got Coinbase 50 Index, Grayscale Trust, World Liberty Financial, Trump's company, and Made in America. This is from Tim Warren, big friend of the channel. Big shout out to Tim. Make sure you follow him and the Vestin Bros. This chart will be very important to watch this week as we wait to see what other coins join the strategic reserve in the U.S. There's only one coin that is in all 5 ovals, and the egg will be on your face. The yolk's on you if you don't have any Chainlink, folks. So very, very bullish on Chainlink. You see, a lot of the overlap here. ETH, Aave, Bitcoin added. Ondo with a decent amount of overlap as well. It's in 3 of the 4. We got these, no, only in 2.
Well, and it's the
3 or 4
Coinbase
here.
50 index, which makes no sense on why Ondo's not in there when it's a top 50 project.
There's a few
They got to
things.
kick something out.
Well, I was going to say there's a few things here that's going to be cause for debate because I love the Made in USA list. That's like as objective, almost as objective as you could be. Like there's so many things, you know, what makes it made there when a lot of these things were trying to be decentralized. They've got corporate governance in one place. They've got, you know, their headquarters in another place, but most of their developers are in this place. So it was bought by US investors. Like what makes it quote unquote what makes a digital product made in the USA is going to be a big subject for conversation, I think, in the future, because
and even if they're
you ask 4 different people to give them the list of made in USA coins, and you're going to probably get 4 somewhat different lists.
And every dev they have is from overseas. All right, now let's talk about selling at a loss. Someone asking at the top of the show, talking about Ondo. You know, what do you think about Ondo? I want to talk about this trader who sold at a loss. Why? Because he wants the fast horses. And this is something we recommend on this channel because narratives change, crypto changes. A whale sold Pepe and Beam at a $14 million loss. And then what did they buy? They bought Ondo. And so they bought 10 million worth of Pepe, sold for 2, basically lost, a little of 7. They also spent 11 on Beam, sold for 4, lost 7 right there. So they lost $14 million. And what are they doing? Are they holding on to the Beam and the Pepe like, oh, a new all-time highs eventually? No, they ended up capitulating and they just jumped on the fastest horse, which they think is going to be Ondo. I just want to put that on your radar, folks, because, there's going to be, a little bit of hesitation when you're looking at your portfolio and you see something's down 70%. You don't want to sell it, but you want to buy that other shiny little object. Sometimes that shiny object is worth chasing because it's the beginning of a run, beginning of a narrative move. And so I just wanted to put you on your radar. What is the coin you have sold at a loss lately?
Well, let me ask this, because we got this here from Brian Wild. This is kind of a perfect example here. Discover Crypto, thoughts on selling AI, XBT, and virtuals for a link. Most likely this person is going to be selling that at a loss if they bought it recently, because those things are down pretty dramatically. So this is the perfect example. Should you sell 2 things that are, they're AI, and they're both kind of in the narrative right now, but they're down bad? AI, XBT, and virtuals for Chainlink here. You guys have thoughts on this, or you want me to just jump in with it?
The AI is so hard to gauge.
Tough one. That's why I picked it. This is a hard one. Especially, we just got done with the NVIDIA earnings report, so we're not going to get another one for 3 months. We don't really have any kind of big thing that we can point to, any kind of big expo. So now we're kind of waiting on little
GTC Summit. That's again next month. That's this month.
What is it?
The GTC Summit again. So like
GTC Summit.
Yeah, that's when March 17th last year. That's how we predicted the top again. And the difference is now, and I would, to DZ's point here, there's not been a lot of data that's been pushing the AI market initiative this time around. So I think it's going to be a much weaker. I'm very bullish on AI, but like I continuously said, and this would have been perfect, like literally 2 days ago on Thursday or Friday when we were like, yeah, I'd pick up Tau and Render at those prices when we were around 80K for Bitcoin. I would be maybe picking up the blue chips, but for like AI agents to start popping off again, we really need to see that retail attraction once again. And with pump fund and retail funds just dropping off the world right now, I'm focusing on tokenization. I'm focusing on RWA.
Would you sell AI, XBT, or virtuals for Chainlink right now? Yes or no?
I mean, I'm not a financial advisor.
If
so
I didn't have any link, if I didn't have any link, I would. I have a link bag, and so I would be maybe adding more AI exposure. But that's my portfolio breakup. If you don't have any link or any of this strong Made in America, Trump pump, get ready. Yeah, maybe you should lower your risk tolerance, especially if that CME gap closes. Link is going to perform a lot better than those AI coins, would be my guess.
And that's what I would say right there would be, it's the risk tolerance. So can virtuals and AI XBT come back? Yes. And if they come back, they might come back even stronger. But if you're worried about it truly being around a year, I look at Link as that obvious answer. And so while Link might not perform or come back as strong as those because it's a much larger capital, it's a much larger asset, they're way more integrated to the government, it might be a slower comeback, but I would say my risk factor would be adjusted and minimalized if I chose Link over the other 2. And that's
Laserface. Should I be round tripping Link Bitcoin to ADA for 2-3 cycles, or only round trip Bitcoin and 65, 75% liquidate your Link and ADA. Yeah, you
We
should
would-
definitely try to take your profits on these altcoins. At the end of the day,
Look-
I would wait a year, buy more Bitcoin.
Let's be real. We've been holding for 2 to 3 cycles. So, timing the top, like timing the top is really hard. Ideally you would want to sell the top, right? Ideally you'd want to sell the top. But luckily, for us, like Bitcoin, it's like we've been in since 3K, or Chainlink, we've been in $5. I look at them as investments. And so I believe Link will be here in 3 years. I believe Link will be here in 4 years. And if that's the case, they'll be here next cycle. So if Bitcoin goes to 150K this cycle and Link goes to $50 or $60 or $100, right? Scraping profits off the table is always ideal.
All right, let's speaking of taking profits, the VCs are about to take profits off of your head. Why? Token unlocks. There are some of the largest token unlocks to look out for this month. It's the first show of the new month, so we want to make sure we get you this. Make sure to take note of the dates if you're thinking of trading any of these tokens. SWI, Athena, Polyhydra, Move, Melania, IMX, Space ID, Jito, ARB, and Aptos. I did not know Jito had a big unlock. That might be one to maybe catch during a dip. ARB, I have sold my ARB for OP. Kind of talking about slow horses for the faster horses. Aptos, not really holding on to Aptos after we saw those revenue numbers. Athena, hey, if you're looking, might be able to find a dip. Melania, I've dumped all of mine. Any thoughts on any of these coins, y'all?
Melania run, because those insiders are going to dump instantly. Thank you, Hayden Davis. And
I like my suitcase.
I hate that the entire Davis family, I hope, really end up in prison and just rot together with the SBF. But in terms of the top projects there, SWI, I'm not worried about that. 2.5%. That's going to get absorbed. I think SWI's doing billions in volume a day. So I don't imagine that's going to have too much of a market impact. And we've seen it, that token unlocks really.
All right, what's
even
the
as a
one
magnitude of
you
100%
would not
don't
touch?
crush it.
Besides Melania, what is the one you just wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole?
I don't know too much about Space ID or Jito Labs, but they're very
Jito's
small market
good.
caps.
Jito's
so-
good.
It's good. Yeah, it's
Our-
like
our,
wants to be like an Ave of Solana.
Yeah, I
The
don't
one-
know anything about them, so I don't know. I
The
would
one
say
I
Immutable,
wouldn't-
IMX.
Touch, definitely Melania. Well, I don't know if you guys are picking up that on my microphone, but I might have to run here pretty soon. They're all actually not.
IMX is. I'm not big a fan of ETH gaming. I think a lot of gaming could be on different chains.
I was gonna say IMX, but IMX actually has a pretty unique technology that basically every game needs to be able to do in-game assets. It's kind of like an exchange for NFTs.
Yeah,
and
they have some patents.
Yeah, everybody uses it. They all license it. So that's what's interesting to me about
Good point.
IMX. So actually, a lot of those have some pretty interesting factors to them. So, but Melania, not interested in. 100%. Never have.
Sorry, Baron. All right, here are some similarities. Bitcoin 2023 March versus the 2025 March. You can see here we closed the CME gap right after we had like a little nice trending downward. Boom, all-time highs. You can see maybe the same thing here. I wouldn't be surprised to see one more retest. Just something to put on your radar. Could have some nice movement to the upside. Josh, you kind of already covered this, but folks, if you didn't know, just to repeat what Josh said, this is the largest ever CME gap that has been printed for Bitcoin here, 85 to just 95 in a day. And so if this does close, I did want to share. If you don't know what it is, they keep talking about the CME gap. What the hell is the CME gap? CME, Chicago Mercantiles Exchange. CME futures gap refers to the price difference that occurs between the close of futures trading Friday afternoon and the reopening late Sunday evening, like wee hours Monday morning there. Traders believe that these gaps tend to fill eventually, meaning the price will return to the gap level, in this case, around 85K. However, this could take several months, maybe even over a year, as we've seen in previous market cycles. So we have now created the largest CME gap ever. And as me, TJ, Josh have said, likely to fill. Let's talk about some moon targets, though. Fundstrat's Tom Lee, 150K is still on for this year. The reason it's important, this guy was the one that did a really good job for 2024. If you don't recall, Tom Lee said he expects to do better than 150 this year. That aligns with his prediction last year when he said Bitcoin would go over 100K and could even potentially hit 150. Of course, we topped out slightly over 100K. Where did we end the year for Bitcoin here? Let's just see. December. I mean, Wow, look at that, 107. And so, yeah, he came in pretty good prediction in 2025. Just want to tell you his, or 2024, want to tell you his 2025 prediction. Oh, here's why. He's saying it's a lot more widely held now. And if Citadel starts trading Bitcoin, it starts to have more broad acceptance. He's talking about Citadel maybe reportedly considering being a liquidity provider for some of these exchanges. How do we feel about 150K prediction? Too low? Spot on?
I think that's the upper band. TJ's up there. You're muted.
Still can't
TJ's
hear you.
muted. Still can't hear you, TJ.
Nope. Child.
Sorry, I was
pulled the
muted.
cord.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, I was like, what's he saying? I think it's about right in the sense that 150, it's pretty safe. I think, obviously it's a little lower than mine. It's a little higher than Josh's. It's probably about in range with yours, right? Isn't yours kind of somewhere in there, DZ?
160, 180.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a very reasonable prediction. Could it go higher? Yes. Could it fall a little bit short? Yes. But I think we're going to move past 125 with authority. It's a little low for me, but I'm the perma bull, so yeah, I think it's solid. He gives good analysis. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, he's been calling this since like literally $1,000 or something. So, I mean, shout out to Fundstrat. They've been the OGs here. It really just depends on, I think, the buying pressure that's going to come in from the United States.
Wait, Josh, not to cut you off. I got a little anomaly of that. It might not be United States. Have you seen this breaking news? Just in, China holding a closed-door meeting on their own strategic Bitcoin reserve, according to David Bailey, the pivot of the century. And what he says, let the nation-state games begin. Can we see appreciative buy volume, not just from America, Josh?
And that's exactly what I was going to talk about. I was going to say this opens up a whole new can. I mean, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
A can of whoop ass on Bitcoin's price.
A can of whoop ass on Bitcoin's price. And it's because if you're not first, you're last when it comes to these type of reserves. It's, you don't want to be the last to switch to the gold standard. Just look at what happened to China in the first place when they decided to move off the silver standard like 40 years later after India. It's like it had a huge negative impact on these economies. And I think we're seeing that same changing world order structure where the first ones that are a part of this, El Salvador, is going to change its life forever. I think they're going to become a much richer. You've seen them like literally gone from one of the scariest nations on the planet to one of the safest, and now they're doing very, very well. And so, if the United States is already in the discussions of allocating to this Bitcoin reserve, the fact that Donald Trump yesterday said he's going to be doing so, it's only a matter of time before China or Russia tries to fast track that. I wouldn't be surprised if China or Russia tried to step in first, because if they're first, they win. They're going to be the leaders of the industry. And so Trump, since he has released the statement, the toothpaste is out of the bottle, they have to start buying crypto assets within the next 6 months, or they're going to get beaten by something that's an authoritarian state. You think Xi Jinping needs the approval of all of his states and his local nation states to start purchasing Bitcoin? No, he waves a magic wand and their country does what he said. Same thing with Russia. So it's a matter of time, and I'm very excited for this. I have no idea what that means for supply, but I can guarantee it's not going to mean a $50,000 price point on Bitcoin.
I think they're accumulating. They're just not announcing it, because that would increase the price and they want to accumulate as much as possible. But that's a little conspiratorial, and I understand that.
No, I agree. I think it's to Josh's point earlier, they don't have the same legal process that we have, right? So they can do things much more unilaterally, and they probably are, and they have much less, they're required to have much less transparency than we do. And so I think the nation states games have already begun.
They have different traffic laws. If you're in a tank, you don't have to stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Too soon.
So, yeah, I think, guys, this again, patience is going to be the name of the game in this cycle. It's going to feel a little different than cycles past. It's probably going to be a little bit harder to predict than cycles past, but the net effect is going to be up and to the right over time. And so don't get shaken out. We're going to experience big pumps. We're going to experience big drawdowns, but you've got time. You can continue to get your funds in. You want your funds to be in digital assets versus fiat. Like, that's just, if you haven't figured that one out yet, just hang around here and it will rub off on you. You're leaving your savings, leaving your buying power, leaving your stored energy in dollars is going to make your life harder. Putting it into Bitcoin is going to make your life easier, generally speaking. So there's a lot of opportunity coming through this market, but there's going to be a lot of fireworks as all of the richest, most powerful people in the world are trying to get in.
You know where the fireworks are happening this morning, TJ?
Where's that?
Crypto.com. They got the pitchforks and they're coming after the CEO. Crypto.com wants to revive $5 billion worth of Crow tokens they once burned in a golden age proposal. Well, what the frick is going on? Are they trying to do a new bachelor season here? Kronos, tied to Crypto.com, proposed reissuing 70 billion tokens they burned back in 2021, aiming to restore their original 100 billion token supply for a strategic reserve to be vested over 10 years.
That's
sparking
ridiculous.
outrage amongst its community. $5 billion plan at the current 8-cent price seeks to boost U.S. crypto dominance, fund ecosystem growth, launch a Crow ETF, but critics, they fear dilution of value and reversing the burn scarcity-driven price surge when it went from 6 cents to 25 cents. The backlash is strong. 86% of the holders opposing the governance vote as of Monday, citing betrayal of the Burns legacy, although the prices rose. So let's go check in on the prices, because this is wild that the prices went up. Let's hit refresh, 24 hours. It's up 38%, but you can see, down a little bit from there when we hit the max
3.8.
button.
3.8%.
Okay, yeah, 3.8. So, all right, sitting comfortably at 8 cents. Still well below the 10 cents that we saw, or still well below the, flirted with the dollar back in the November pump for Bitcoin there. Would you buy Crow? I mean, does this bode poorly for the company?
That's
for the
terrible.
coin?
That's ridiculous. They want to print money out of thin air, and that just only benefits the company and not the holders. That makes absolutely zero sense. Like, if they want to do, why not do an ETF without the burn? Just allocate some of the community funds now. It's, or not the community, but the token allocation they have today. In my opinion, that's because they want to. I mean, from their part, it's strategic because it boosts them now up. If they were to get $5 billion magically added to the market cap, they're now going to be a top project again. Maybe they're trying to position themselves better for the admin they're currently working with. Maybe they have negotiations and they've been saying things behind the scenes with the Trump admin, as Crow's been sponsoring a lot of the digital asset community events. So I don't know. I'm very skeptical that there's a lot more taking place on the back end of, hey, if we could easily do this. We could easily reverse $5 billion. If we do this, we'll give you guys, $20 million to make sure that we get an approval for an ETF. I don't know. I'm very skeptical. I would stay away. That is very gala-like of them.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is anytime you see a company playing games with their own stable coin, like what we saw with FTT, trying to pump it up, trying to,
their governance token, you mean?
Yeah, with their token. Yeah, basically a token that they issued. They try to pump up the value because they hold a ton of it, right? So
it feels like a stable coin, but yeah.
Well, they use it like an asset on their balance sheet, right?
Yeah.
They to say like, oh, we've got this much in reserve, so we can take loans against this much, and that's where I get concerned. Is anytime you see, I guess I shouldn't have said stable coin, their own coin. Anytime
they're illiquid.
What's that?
Could this mean they're potentially a little bit illiquid?
Well, wait, did Matt Damon? Was it Jason Bourne?
That's what I'm saying. This could cause me to be concerned, and exchange coins in general have had risk with them ever since FTT. I mean, I would call BNB not really an exchange coin anymore, but it's been a center of a lot of regulatory and legal scrutiny. So to me, I would much rather be involved in some of these self-custody debt. Like, I'd much rather hold Hype on Hyperliquid, a completely custody exchange, or other things like that. I'd rather hold Arrow on Aerodrome. I'd rather hold
Arrow. Give me Arrow.
You're benefiting from the fees of swaps rather than holding a centralized exchange token. At this point, there's just the market. I don't think you really need to be doing it. Now you can if you want. A lot of people like to hold Crow because of their marketing. They say, oh, they've got great marketing. And it's like, and we've seen that can pay off well. It's paid off really well for XRP holders, obviously, and SHIB. Like SHIB and XRP, some of the best marketed crypto projects ever. Almost any rando I talk to would have held or bought one of those two at any given point. Almost anybody that's in crypto at all has either held one of those at any given point, and I would say that's a result of their marketing. I wouldn't put Crow anywhere close to that level of marketing, because the type of marketing that really works in crypto is guerrilla. Crow is much more traditional with, stadiums and Formula One and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'd stay away from
if
it,
I
but
see
that's my-
Arrow get a Super Bowl commercial and hire Ben Affleck instead of Matt Damon, I'm out. I'm selling everything. Someone asked, what is the best crypto to buy right now? Obviously, such a tough question. When I see a question like that, I don't know anything about your portfolio. I'm just going to say Bitcoin. I'm just going to
Just
say
ask chat. Chat, what do you think is the best crypto to buy now?
yeah,
Who
show us
cares?
your bag.
What-
their
yeah, show us
largest
your bags.
holding. It's going to be their largest holding. All right, speaking of largest holding, Cardano. Cardano will be able to sign Bitcoin transactions while using the USA Reserve asset ADA as a gas fee. Charles Hoskinson announced that yesterday. So adding to the bullish news, Max Mahar, great YouTube channel. Snek he's saying it's the highest potential upside crypto strategic reserve play. I don't think that sounds that crazy because Snake is a beta play on Cardano. And so he's saying Cardano is going to be the biggest pumper of these. And then if you want the beta play to that would be Snake. TJ, you're laughing.
No, okay.
I don't find that funny.
That's
No,
a
no,
stretch.
I think I was laughing because when you first read it, I was thinking he was saying it's a potential to be included in the strategic. No, obviously not. But to get gains off of that, absolutely. I think a lot of things in the Cardano ecosystem you'll see major gains as Cardano pumps and similarly with some of these other ones. So yeah, niching down into these ecosystems, I think is a really good way to make money.
2 nights of video. That's what it's going to be on, folks. We're going to niche down into the ADA ecosystem. I'm going to find you some things. Speaking of ecosystems, have you seen the ETH FUD lately? Talking about ETH Denver. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's pretty funny. So this guy's assessment of ETH Denver. He said, man, it was kind of weird. He walked into ETH. So first booth, Polkadot, giving away socks. Second booth, Avalanche, Red Bull. Third booth, Binance. No sign of ETH anywhere. Finally spots Vitalik, but he's surrounded by near devs trying to convince him about sharding. Tries to find an ETH panel. Well, he found one with Celestia and Cosmos. Steps outside to clear his head. He's immediately handed a Polygon swag bag. His wristband scans it to an abstract wallet automatically. He's hyperventilating. Security is approaching him. Not to help, just to remind him, the medical tent sponsored by ARB and requires a layer 0 cross-chain transaction to enter. Oh my God, he's trying to use an ETH burner wallet at a food truck. Sorry, only accepting Circle on Solana. He collapses on the sidewalk, defeated. Finally, the ambulance comes. Sirens blare, brought to you by Chainlink. He dies and he's respawned as a SWI validator. Can't wait for ETH Denver 2026. You're muted again, I believe. Funny stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I've heard a lot of really funny stuff coming out of ETH Denver. Sorry, I keep muting myself because Ivy's screaming in the background. So,
it's the altcoin markets right now.
Yeah,
doesn't know what's going on.
There is I will say this, there's a lot of fragmentation across this industry. I think that's one of the things we're trying to solve in general. I think wallets are the key to doing that. They're coming a long way. I was talking with or chatting on X with Daniel from Hey Anon. That new wallet is one I'm pretty excited about that's rolling out that should have integrations with AI, kind of interact. It's a Telegram wallet meets ChatGPT basically. And they're working on Cardano integrations as well. That's how it struck up. He's like, yeah, we're working on integrating Cardano. And I was like, he said, we just hired a new dev for us. Like, you might need more than one new dev if you're integrating Cardano. And he basically said, no, not really, not to create a wallet, because once it can interact within the wallet, all the rest of the logic is the same. And I was like, that's really cool. And that's what we need is the Be Everything wallet. That's an easy experience and a clean user experience that will solve everything you just mentioned there. Because with that wallet, with it working at its full capability, even if you were having that experience, it would be seamless because your front end takes care of it.
The ambulance would pick you up, even though it was brought to you by Chainlink. We have a nice little crypto fact about Joaquin Phoenix here. Did you know to prepare for his role as the Joker, he had to hold ETH for 2 years? Nice little fun fact. All right, well, folks, I'm gonna go work on a Cardano video. I got to get you this Cardano Alpha while there's still time. If there is a dip, these are going to be the coins that you want to load up on. Josh, did you have anything you wanted to share with the Disco fam?
No, we're gonna be live in the Telegram right after this, doing some live trading. So we're just gonna go hop in there and just.
Are you going live with Trump?
Oh yeah, that'll be at 3 p.m. if he goes live. That'll be at 3 p.m. So I'll see you guys back at this afternoon, 3 p.m.
All right. Stay safe out there, Disco fam. Buy the dip. We'll see you at the top.
You.